Hola, my name is Juan Cartagena. I'm the senior brand master here in this company in Puerto Rico, which is Ron del Barrilito. Okay, excellent brand company, family tradition, very craftsman here in the island. 4 generation family tradition of the formula, and it's one of the most awarded rum here in the island. Bartender's choice, really, even to try by its own flavor, or even also beautiful cocktails here in Puerto Rico. Okay, you can see all of them here. Important, one of the key questions that everybody asks me all the time here is the name. Okay, and the name is that you see here in the corner, a little barrel. RON is from Spanish, Del is from Barrilito, little barrel. The founder used to serve from the little barrel here in the where he started, where we are now, which is Hacienda Santa Ana, which is a sugarcane plantation in the neighbor town of San Juan, where we relocated in Puerto Rico. We are about 15 to 20 minutes from San Juan, okay, in a beautiful entrance with sugarcane. We actually go inside of the warehouse, but you will see all this in one of the videos that you're going to see later on. Make sure to take a look around. If you have any questions, it will be a big pleasure to answer you then. Okay? So I hope you enjoy this journey, and we hope to see you here in our property here to enjoy some Ron del Barrilito in Puerto Rico.
Hola Viking guests, and welcome to Hacienda Santa Ana, home of Ron del Barrilito, located right here in Bayamón. My name is Paula from Destination Puerto Rico, and I am very, very, very excited to take you on this wonderful tour through the Hacienda today. It's a little bit warm, but it is a beautiful day, so we're gonna go ahead and get started very soon. I'm going to be joined by Timmy, who is a brand ambassador of the Hacienda. He knows all about the rum industry, how the rum is processed, how the rum is made here in the distillery right behind me. He's going to talk about the family and the history of the makings of Ron del Barrilito as a brand. A little bit later after that, we're gonna go ahead and take a mixology class with Timmy as well, and he's gonna teach us how to make the national drink, which is the piña colada, because what is a rum tour without a mixology class right after? So make sure you have a pen and paper, jot down everything Timmy says, because whatever he says is gold of how to make the piña colada. And after all of this wonderful, wonderful tour, we're going to have a quick Q&A with Juan, who is also a brand ambassador and has worked with Ron del Barrilito for years and years and years. So you have two really fantastic experts of the brand today who are going to take you on a private tour through the Hacienda, and also you will have the opportunity to talk to Juan after if you have any questions. So, like I said, it's a little warm, but it is a beautiful day. So why don't we get started on our tour through Hacienda Santa Ana? Come along.
First of all, welcome to what is Hacienda Santa Ana, here home of Ron del Barrilito. My name is Timmy, and I will be with you today on your tour. Here, just want to show you a little visualization of some of the things that we're going to be talking about when it comes to the history and the story. As you can see, these two gentlemen are the same person. This is Pedro Fernandez. He's the creator of our rum. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about him and where he went to go study chemical engineering. If you see over here, this is Edmundo. This is Pedro's son. We're also going to talk about Pedro's son. As you can see, Edmundo and all his kids, who were part of the family on making Ron del Barrilito. The windmill and the house that you're going to go ahead and see when you come in La Hacienda Santa Ana here at Barrilito. We're going to touch bases on that. And like I said, just a little visualization. So when we go outside and I tell you the history and the story, we could all put the puzzles together. So that's gonna be our journey today for when it comes to Ron del Barrilito. So if you guys are ready, come on this way. So right here, as you can see, these are the original copper pot stills that Pedro used to use to go ahead and make his first batch of rum 140 years ago. They're handmade, handcrafted, and the way that the process used to be made is here, they used to put water, sugarcane, and yeast, and they would boil it at a very high temperature until it turned into steam. From one side, it would go to the other side, and here it would form back on the condensation of a liquid form called alcohol, or as we know as rum. But like I said, they're the original ones that he used to use, and if you guys know, Ron del Barrilito is the first or the oldest rum ever created in Puerto Rico, and we're known as the rum capital of the world because of Barrilito 3 stars. Come on with me, let's keep continuing the journey. So if you saw the young picture of Pedro Fernandez, that was a time where he went to go study chemical engineering in a very prestigious university called the École Centrale of Paris in France. And while he was over there, he really fell in love in what was the makings of cognacs, brandies, and wines. When he actually graduates, he comes back to Puerto Rico with his pot stills, and as you can see right here, he starts his first production of Ron del Barrilito. But Pedro was always a guy that no matter where he went, he always carried a little barrel underneath his arm. So whenever friends and family would come to visit him, they'd say, hey, listen, Pedro, I heard that you're making some type of rum. And he'd be like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I got a little bit here. Why don't you go ahead and try it? And people would absolutely love it. And it wouldn't be until 1880 where he actually gets it patented as Ron del Barrilito, giving it a tribute to what his friends and family had been calling it for years. Pedro, do you still have a little bit left of that little rum from the barrel? Little rum from the barrel means Ron del Barrilito. That's how the name got started. That's how the legend began until today. And like I said, it would be very famous throughout the years. And it wouldn't be until 1901 where Pedro has a son called Edmundo, which we saw the picture. And throughout Edmundo's life, Pedro starts teaching him the same techniques that he learned in France, so his son could eventually be the next master blender. At 17 years old in 1918, Edmundo takes over master blending duties. But in 1920s, something horrible happens that we wanted never to happen again, which is called Prohibition. The signing of the Volstead Act by President Woodrow Wilson. Cease and desist all type of manufacturing of alcohol. Puerto Rico was already part of the U.S. at that time, so that law did apply to us, and we had to stop all manufacturing of our alcohol. But during this time, I don't really like to say that the family survived. I like to say more that they stayed afloat by making different types of what we call bay rum, medicinal products, cosmetics, perfume, basically rubbing alcohol to kind of generate some money during that time in Prohibition. Prohibition ends December 5th, 1933. So you're talking about 13 years without being able to drink. But now we can start drinking again. And most importantly, we can start making rum again. But Edmundo, who was in charge of Barrilito, had one little problem. That the rum that his father used to make, Barrilito 3 stars, took 6 to 10 years of aging. This was a big deal because right after Prohibition, you have the big boom of cocktails. Everybody's drinking, and Edmundo doesn't have any rum. So him being the smart man that he is, he creates Barrilito 2 stars, a much younger version of the rum, aged 3 to 5 years, great for mixing cocktails. After Prohibition, that was the era, right, of the big cocktail explosion, right? So he starts bringing it out to start generating some money. And of course, we're in the rum industry. Let's just go ahead and bring something out, right, to get the people excited about Barrilito 3 stars coming out soon. But once Pedro and Edmundo had Barrilito 2 star and 3 star, they used to gather in that little red truck that you see over there, and they would travel all over Bayamón and Puerto Rico selling their product, okay? And it's an original. That is a Model 1A original 1930s Ford. So what they would do is that they used to put the Barrilito 2 star and 3 star in the back and travel all over Bayamón and Puerto Rico selling their product, getting people excited for their rum. 3 star that was about to come out soon. Right here, as you can see, this is the windmill that was built in 1827. This is what Pedro and Edmundo used to use to go ahead and crush their sugar cane, as you can see right there, to go ahead and extract the molasses, to go ahead and make their process of rum. But nowadays, we use it as an administration office. And in the second floor, you still have Edmundo's old office, just the way he left it. With all of these like old artifacts that he had are now in the gift shop. All right, so when we come back, definitely take you into the gift shop so you can see all these old artifacts that we've had since the 1930s and beyond, which are absolutely amazing. So right here, this is what we call our master cooper station. And this is our master cooper. This is basically the gentleman that fixes all our barrels. The barrels that we use are American white oak from bourbon country, but we actually buy them in a place called Jerez, Spain, which is like the down south of Spain. So by the time the barrels come here, we already have particles inside of bourbon and a fortified wine called Cherry Oloroso, which is absolutely amazing. So when the barrels come here, we put a little bit of water in them to expand it, make sure there's no leaks and holes. If everything's good, rum, and we start aging. If they need to get a little bit of checkup and get fixed, our master cooper here, which his name is Viana, he'll go ahead and check them, so then we can go ahead and put rum and start aging. And here's something that you guys may have known. Right here, our master cooper, gentleman's name Viana. And Viana has been here in Barrilito for 55 years, since he was 17 years old. And he'll be 56 this year at the end of the year. So if you guys ever come over here, definitely go ahead and stop, talk to our master cooper. He'll definitely show you a little bit of two or three when it comes to the barrels. Absolutely amazing guys. So right here, as you can see, underneath the ground, we have huge tanks. So when I tell you that our rum is 100% natural and artisanal, even the water that we use to lower the alcohol level while we're producing our rum is actually rainwater. So whenever it rains, water will go through those filters. It'll filter 3 times, purify to the tanks that hold over 40,000 gallons of water. So we don't buy water in purified, and we don't buy purified water. Everything's 100% original. And if you know the old story here in Bayamón here, it rains every single day. So it's good for our rum. So as you can see here, this is the house that was built in 1787. It's actually still one of the oldest properties in Puerto Rico. If you saw Edmundo and all his kids, he had 7 children. His youngest son, which is named Fernando Fernandez, he's like 87 years old, and he still lives in that house till this day. And sometimes when we have tours, he'll come out, visit us, say hi, talk to the people, feel like a local celebrity. Definitely super important to the process of making our rum. Right here, as you can see, this is our barrel aging room. This is where we keep all our rum. All these barrels have rum in them. Obviously, some of them are going to be a little bit more filled than others. But if you see here, all these barrels, we have a little bit over 3,500, close to 4,000 barrels. We have this section here, this section on the other side, and then on the other side of the factory, we also have sections of barrels. And here, one of the most impressive things that I love about this barrel aging room in Barrilito, we have old rums. We have rums from 1984, we have rums from 1968, and we have different types of young rum and old rum. And we got to remember, our rum is a blended rum. So we're going to take different types of barrels for years, blend them together, and then do our process of rum, which is a process that has been lasted for 140 years, and people have loved it since the day it came out till this day. So here, I want to present to you the oldest and most important barrel in Puerto Rico's history. This is barrel number 1, 1952. This is a barrel that we call La Doña, also known as the Old Lady. Let me tell you a true story about the Old Lady. Edmundo and his family were very, very independent. And in 1952, he created this barrel. Also in 1952 was created the National Born Liberal State Association of Puerto Rico, which is basically the unification between us and the US in our Commonwealth. Edmundo being an independent, right, he decided to create this barrel in the sense that this barrel will only be open the day that Puerto Rico gets its independence. Whenever that happens, this will be moved into the Town Square Plaza in Bayamón, which is about 10 and 15 minutes from here. And when the day that happens, that we become independent, this will be taken over there. It will be open for all of us to celebrate our independence from La Doña. And listen, do not worry. Edmundo was a smart man. Supposedly he created 2 barrels, but this is the one that we have here. So we know that the party's gonna last for a very, very long time, the day that happens. But please, I want to introduce you again to the most important and oldest barrel in Puerto Rico's history, La Doña. So right here, as you can see, you're literally at the heart and soul of where we make our rum. This is our maceration room. These are our maceration tanks that have been here with us since 1943. Obviously, this is the biggest one. It holds 3,600 gallons of rum. And here, this is where the master blender is going to keep his white rum, right? This rum with no flavor. And what he's going to do is he's going to take that rum that's in here, and he's going to put it in our maceration tanks. Now, in these tanks, we're going to have around 23 to 28 ingredients within fruits and spices. Wish I could tell you the recipe, but that's a family secret only the master blender knows. But they're going to stay here for about 5 or 6 months, getting aroma, complexity, and flavor. To get a little bit more in depth, in the big tanks, we're going to have our rum with our fruits, and then in the barrels in the back, we're going to have our rum with our spices. So the master blender is going to macerate them separately, but at the same length of time. Maceration just means an extraction of an ingredient, in this case, our fruits and our spices. But once that process is done, the master blender is going to grab all that rum, he's going to bring it back here, and here he's going to leave it for another 2 to 3 weeks. Making sure that the rum with the fruits and the rum with the spices can kind of get in contrast with each other. Once that's over, as you can see, he'll filter it, and it will go directly into the barrel. So when I tell you that our rum is 100% natural and artisanal, once the rum is in the barrel, we don't add any sugar or little drops or preservatives or caramel or nothing. 100% original. That's why it's temperature controlled here on the outside. Right? So whenever the sun hits and whatever it is on that day, that's how the barrels are going to age. So our barrels are aging 24/7 all year round. The same way that Pedro Fernandez used to make his rum 140 years ago, it's the same way we make it now. We've changed absolutely nothing. The only difference is we got better technology. But as you can see, like I said, you're at the heart and soul of where we make our rum from beginning to end, 100% pure and original. So here, as you can see, we're in production area. And I want to introduce you somebody who's very, very important to what is the process of making our rum. This is Guillermo. This is our master blender.
Hello.
Now he's going to explain to you the whole process of what is making our rum. Please, Guillermo, can you tell us how we do our rum here at Ron del Barrilito?
Sure. So the process of bottling Barrilito is a very manual process. Normally we'll have all of our employees here when the bottling line is running, plus some help from the visitor center. What we'll do is we'll wash bottles and we'll place the bottles on our turntable here, all by hand. This will get fed into the automated part of our process, which is the filling station, the capping station, the labeling station, and then finally the bottles will come out complete. We'll pass them to this table here, where you can see all of our bottles ready to go into a box, where they'll be manually packed, taped, stacked onto a pallet, and then designated for our final destination. Sorry, if you want to show this again. This is the new packaging that we have. This is a bottle that we're going to be unveiling in Europe this year to make its way to the States eventually.
Now, what has been the experience for being here, working in this process for you?
It's been great. I love being on my, I love to be in the action. I'd much rather be there with my employees, sweating, getting our hands dirty, doing the work that puts the rum in the bottle, versus up in a laboratory or behind a computer.
Absolutely.
But no, it's been very fulfilling, very gratifying to see my guys grow and see how much they actually care about a quality brand, and see the effort that they put in every day, and the way that they take pride in what they do. It's very gratifying.
So for the consumer that loves rum but may not know us, what can you say is the difference of Barrilito with maybe other brands here in Puerto Rico?
Of course. I think something that differentiates Barrilito from the production area is the process of blending, maceration, and maturation that we do here. We have a very unique process that is a maceration, an aged maceration that goes into our maturation within the barrel, which then gets blended afterward. These three in combination, all in the Caribbean climate that we're in, allow for a beautiful, homogeneous product that comes out that is very balanced. You hit all tasting notes with the sherry cask, the oak, and then the sweetness from the fruits and spices that you get from your maceration. So it turns out to be a very unique product. I have found that it's hard to come by something that has a similar taste profile as Barrilito.
And if you guys know, when it comes to our Ron del Barrilito, we've all, or at least all the rum, have won some type of gold medal, some type of award, right? So that means that we're doing something right. Maestro, I would like to thank you again for taking time out of your busy day to let us explain, right, how you have fun in your office on every single day. So I appreciate it, and thank you guys. Guillermo, our master blender, so when you guys come to visit us, he's the guy that makes it. Ask for Guillermo, and he'll take care of you guys. And now we're going to go to our mixology session. And today, we're gonna be preparing Puerto Rico's national cocktail and one of the best and most sold cocktails around the world, which is the Pina Colada. I have my ingredients here. I have a little bit of Barrilito 2 stars, right? Because it has a little bit more fruit flavors. So it's really gonna bring out those flavors of the pineapple and the coconut that go into the mix, okay? So you guys ready to make Puerto Rico's national cocktail and the original Pina Colada? Beautiful. Let's get started. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take Barrilito 2 stars, which is a rum that's aged from 3 to 5 years. And we're gonna go ahead and take our jigger and we're gonna put 1.5 ounces, okay, right into our mixing glass or our shaker that we're gonna go ahead and use right here. So here we go, 1.5 ounces. Now after that, we're gonna use a little bit of coconut cream, okay? Now for this one, we're gonna go ahead and put a full 2 ounces. Here in Puerto Rico, coconut is Puerto Rico's national fruit. So we want to get a little bit of that coconutness inside of us, okay? So we're going to do that right here. And then we want to balance it out. Hey, listen, I'm a coconut lover just like everybody else, right? But we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of pineapple juice, okay, to go ahead and balance out the sweetness of the flavor. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and put 4 ounces of the pineapple juice. So here we go. We got 1. And then we got our 4 ounces right there. So it should be beautiful. It should be very, very balanced. And what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna go ahead and put it to the side, okay? Because we wanna go ahead and put ice, right, in our glass. So we're gonna put a little bit of ice in there, okay? I have it here ready. Here we go. I got a little bit of ice and we are ready to shake. Okay, we take our big shaker, all right? We go ahead and throw the ice in there that we just got in, okay? Go ahead and mix it up. Now we give it a couple of thumps, right? To make sure it seals. And now we shake. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Got to give it a little bit of elbow grease because you want to go ahead and break that coconut cream. So once we're done with that, we get it to the side a little bit. Go ahead and open it up. All right. And just like that, look how beautiful this is going to come out. All right. Then we put a little bit of more ice in there because we wanted to make sure filled all the way to the top. So look at that beauty right there. We put this to the side because we don't need it anymore, right? And then the final touch for a garnish. And what we have here is a dehydrated pina colada. Because of the color of the pineapple and the pina colada, it's gonna really bring out the flavor. So we have it here, and there you are. The original Pina Colada, created in 1954, served right here in Hacienda Santa Ana from Ron del Barrilito. Cheers, salud, sante, enjoy.
I hope you all enjoyed your tour through Hacienda Santa Ana, home of Ron del Barrilito, and enjoyed learning how the rum is processed and made here at this distillery. Rum is super important important as most of you know to Puerto Rico. It's definitely ingrained in our history and in our culture today. And hopefully, as soon as everyone is able to travel and you do find your way over to Puerto Rico, you can stop at Hacienda Santa Ana, located here in Bayamón, Puerto Rico, and take the tour for yourselves. So it has been my pleasure to show you around, and hasta luego. Bye.
So now we have some questions, Juan. Our first question comes from Caroline in New York. She asks, can you explain the difference between light and dark rum?
Okay, so when the product is already in the bottle, it is the profile already finished. Everything starts with the main ingredient, which is sugarcane, processed, fermented, distilled. Then they put it in wood, in barrels. When they come out of the barrel, they come with color. Okay? But then at that moment in the profile, the master creator of that brand, he can filter it and turn it into clear again, or leave it with some what they call esters and components, which it gets a woody taste and also color. So the decision is in the manufacturing if he remove the color with some charcoal filters and all that, or leave it with the color.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Karen in Mountain View. She says, I have previously cruised around the Caribbean and I loved it. Can you recommend the best drink I could mix myself at home that will help me bring back my memories?
What will be a drink or a drink? Personally, if you have somebody like me from Puerto Rico, or piña colada. It is original from here and it's very nice if you make it with Ron del Barrilito, I would say with a 2-star, which our brand is very complex, as you see, and intense in flavor, and it will connect very good with the coconut and the pineapple. So I would say piña colada if you want to relate it to the Caribbean.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Laurie in Cherry Hill. She says, can you advise how best to enjoy rum neat? Should it be drunk on the rocks? She says, it's the one spirit I'm never sure how I should serve.
Okay, personally, the creation of our brand, the idea was the 3-star, the original. So you see stars, so it's like a general. When you see it with more star, it's more complex, more unique, more elegant. So the founder, he traveled to France, and he bring that knowledge of something beautiful, which is cognac, to Puerto Rico, to the Caribbean. So if you drink cognac, we will be in a higher level because of the climate, microclimate, craftsman of this brand. I would really want to enjoy sip by sip, a 3-star, 4-star for a Barrilito, really by its own flavor, really to see the complexity of it.
Wonderful, thank you. Our next question comes from Alicia in Palo Alto. She says, how does Ron del Barrilito compare to Bacardi when it comes to taste?
Wow, that's a big question because there are 2 brands from Puerto Rico, very close located. One is in front of Old San Juan, San Felipe del Morro, and the other one, Barrilito, is right here, very close here in a sugarcane plantation in the neighbor town of San Juan. Okay. Both of them have its own craftsmanly profile. The difference will be that Barrilito in the craftsman, before it's being aged, we do all the formula. So when we locate the formula to the barrel, it already have around average between more than a year in connection of all those different fruit and spices a little. That is spice from, we only have a little notes, as you saw in the video, in the tanks. After there, the barrel is not any kind of barrel. Normally you see in a lot of rum factories, they burn it inside, so they make that smoky taste. Our barrels come from Spain, so they're wine barrels. So in the moisture of the barrel, there's a little bit of wine from Spain. So you have, look how complex it is. You have a little bit of rum taste. You have over 20 different fruit and spices exotic, a little bit in it, plus a little bit of the wine. And of course, this is something very interesting. When we dilute our product improved since the beginning. And even now, we dilute it with our rainwater. Okay, so it's a little bit of water from Puerto Rico, a few drops in it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Juan. Our next question comes from Molly in Castro Valley. She says, I'm hoping to do the West Indies Explorer cruise next year. She says, how long is the distillery visit and tour? And where would you recommend to visit to enjoy a drink in San Juan afterwards?
If you're located in where the cruise ships arrive, which is all San Juan or in San Juan area, if I will say any bar that you go, any craftman bar, whatever, if you ask, I want something very special from Puerto Rico, which one will you recommend it? By doubt, is Barrilito 3-star. From there on, we're in the neighbor town of San Juan. So in any vehicle or depending on adjustment the traffic, I would say about 15 to 20 minutes so far. So we're in the neighbor town. Of course, when you get here, it will be a big transformation. But when you get, it's an all sugarcane plantation. You're gonna see the house, you saw it in the video, the house outside is over 200 years old, the wind turbine, that's the office, and then the visitor center, the warehouse. You'll be travel to back in time, very nice. I hope to see you around. Okay?
Thank you. Our next question comes from Zoila in the UK, and she says, how can I get your rum in the UK?
Okay, well, our view expectation is that we don't want to change the traditional family tradition style of making the craftman of Barrilito for 141 years. We're already the 4th generation of creator master blenders of Barrilito. Why I'm talking about that? Because then we are planning in the future to send it to some places, but it will be just a few cases. Not a lot of them, but you probably will find it. But a good excuse to come back in winter time to Puerto Rico. I would suggest to go to Puerto Rico to visit us and have a bottle of Barrilito right in our property here, going on San Juan.
That's good advice. Thank you. Our next question comes from Darren in the United States. He says, can you explain a little bit more about how the aging of rum works? Is it similar to whiskey that the longer a rum is aged, the more expensive it is?
Okay, well, in the moment that I've been to Scotland or to different areas of making I've been over 20 years in the liquor business industry. I visited a couple of manufacturers. Our flavors in a moment before it's being bottled, they need to adjust the profile. In that moment, for example, in the 3-star, when you go into whiskey, the main ingredient is malt. In Canada, it's rye. If you go to US, it's corn, but ours is sugarcane. It's alcohol from sugarcane. But then when the product it is finished, in Scotland, they do blending stuff to adjust the profile. In ours, for example, what I have here, this is directly from a barrel from a 20-year to a 30 years, and we adjust that blending profile. If they need color in any Barrilito, even before, now, and in the future, we can get a couple of drops of something like this that we can put it on. So our Sagraditos here are very craftsman, even from the beginning until the end. So the color, flavor, and everything is blended, but profile, standards, and procedure the best.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Lucy in Carborough. She says, what's the most authentic way to drink rum the Puerto Rican way?
Personally, wow, right at the beach. We're in an island. We're surrounded by some beautiful beaches in Puerto Rico with some Barrilito in a piña colada or in a rum punch or any cocktails with tropical juice. I would go rather with the 2-star in that. But personally, maybe in the afternoon, seeing the sunset and all that, I would go a little bit of the 3-star on the rocks just by itself, just watching this beautiful sunset here in Puerto Rico.
Thank you. That sounds good. Our next question comes from Rochelle in Chicago. She says, I'm interested in more about the history of rum. Do you know when the first records are of rum being distilled in Puerto Rico, and how has the production process changed and improved over the years?
Okay. are, I will say about 2 years back, but Barrilito actually, as the brand registered, it have 141 years. But then there was not really a way to get inside of the property. Only the family, the blenders, and the team that works here. About 2 years ago, well, something happened before it was Hurricane Maria. Destroyed a lot of the construction here, but not the warehouse and all that. And we started the same place that everything started. So that's part of our journey here, that we are located in the square feet that everything started with Pedro Fernandez, the founder. So we actually go part by part. If you saw in the video, we are actually the truck. We have the original truck. We have the original distillery. We go inside of the manufacturing. We got a craftsman bar. We got mixology. We got tasting. So it's a very recommended best place to go if you want to go by the history of something craftsman like Barrilito here and there.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Deborah in Richmond in the United States, and she says, how many different kinds of rum are made at your distillery, and also how many people are employed?
Okay, well, really, we're not a big company. We're a small craftsman artisanal rum, but people here are like a big family. They've been years here working here. And we see it here quickly. It's like I said a few minutes ago, by star. It's like a 2-star. It's over 5 years in the actually 3-star is over 10 years. The 4-star, this one is only here in the facility, in the visitor center. The beautiful thing about this one is that you can bottle it yourself. That's beautiful. You can bottle it, you can record yourself, and be part of us because it was for the opening of the visitor center. The liquid amount is very long. This is over 20 years. So you can be part, bottle it, and register that bottle. This one over here, very artisanal in the high level. This is a 5-star. 5-star, it reached 35. Some of the bases in it is 35 years. So that's the gold liquid, the state-of-the-art craftsman of Barrilito in sipping. Beautiful craftsman. Very nice for sipping. These two here are recommended. Okay, if you want a very collectible something, one edition, these two, 4-star and 5-star.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Margaret, and she's in Rincon in Puerto Rico. She asks, does it really mean rum from the little barrel, not little rum from the barrel?
Okay, the name. If you see, I don't know if you can get it close. PF is the founder, is Pedro Fernandez. Okay, you see here in the barrel. When he actually started here, where we are now, we're right down in where everything started, square feet. He actually made the formula of the 3-star, but then he has some in the bottle. But then people say, oh, they tried the one that he carried in his arm, that it was a little barrel. It was a 3-star in a little barrel. And they love it. Every time that they come, they want it again, the one from the little barrel. So in 1880, he said, I need to register the brand. The brand, it will be registered like everybody love it here in Bayamón, Puerto Rico. Rum is RN, is rum in Spanish. That is from Barrilito, means little barrel. Rum from the little barrel.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Bishop Horn in Pompton Plains in the United States. And he says, how badly has Hurricane Maria impacted you and the rum industry in Puerto Rico?
Wow, that was a very good question. Well, I would say like the tourists, cruise ships, everything, it will stop in the whole Caribbean, not in Puerto Rico, the whole Caribbean. Manufacturing, there was no problem because our warehouse are closed in concrete, so there was not really no damage in that. I would say more in the sugarcane plantation, in the property, the trees and everything around here. In this area over here, it used to be the area that they fixed the barrels. It was in wood. All the wood that we have in the visitor center in the east side is the original wood, okay, from the first distillery. Okay, so we try to not give it up. Try to actually open the gates, come people here, enjoy our brand, love it more than they love it already. And we don't give up. That's what I would say the word. Don't give up. Keep on going. The whole Caribbean, including also Puerto Rico, my island here, and enjoy our beautiful rums here in the island. Okay?
Thank you. Our next question comes from a Wilda in Los Angeles. And she says, could you tell us a bit more about the history of the family? When did they arrive in Puerto Rico and where did they come from? Was it Spain or Cuba?
Okay. Well, Pedro Fernandez, his grandfather, he was Fernando Fernandez. Fernando Fernandez, he get this property, 2,000 acres, neighbor to San Juan, in a little hill, which is now the town identified, the name of the town is called Bayamon. This 2,000 acres was to grow sugarcane because it was an area that rains almost every day. So it grows very nice fruits. Mostly the family of the grass is sakuram, is the sugarcane. So they start growing sugarcane here, and for different generations, the second generation, actually they bought another plantation, which is called La Esperanza. So they used to have two of them. Third generation actually was so many sugarcane plantations that even there was a train that it was passing exactly from this one, passing to other ones around the island to go to harvest seasons to grow sugarcane. So sugarcane industry was very big in Puerto Rico. So that's why everything started. It started by the property that the Crown of Spain gave it to Fernando Fernandez. In the third generation is when so many plantations. That's when Pedro decided they send it to France to become an industrial engineer. And he bring all these knowledge techniques about all cognac techniques. And he applied to the one.
Thank you. We have another question from Margaret in Rincon. She says, the bottling specialist's name in the video was Bacardi. Is he any relation to the other rum company?
Very good question. Yeah. It was just that he was present in the video. Okay, about I would say more than 3 years back, the family Fernandez joined a venture with some investors from Puerto Rico. And one of them carried the last name Bacardi, okay? And he actually, anonymous, invests some money in Barrilito for the future of Barrilito, but not touching the formula generation. What we do, open the visitor center, open the gates. We actually bring in the same craftsmen to actually bring in more barrels from Spain. And that's what we do. But the formula is still with the same family standards. Even the one that works here is fourth generation is Monica Fernandez, and she's on the fourth generation.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Miki in Montclair. She says, for visitors who come to the distillery, is there a room or a terrace where you can sample the rum after the tour?
Excuse me, what was that? Sorry, I'm checking one of the questions.
Shall I repeat it, Juan?
Yes, because of the audio, it was the Wi-Fi. We just tried to hear it better.
The question comes from Nikki in Montclair. She says, for visitors who come to the distillery, is there a room or a terrace where they can sample the rum after the tour?
You can sample your rooms. Yes. We have different rooms, okay? Different experience. There's 3 different experiences. There's one that is average about more than half an hour, that it goes to the manufacturing areas as you saw in the video. You can go inside of the warehouse. That's one of the things about visiting here, that because of the formula that is diluted before it's been aged, the level content of ethanol and alcohol in the barrels are almost as it is in the bottle. So over there you can take photos, you can go inside of the process. After they do all that process, everybody have a drink, okay? So they will include you in the craft bar here, some cocktails that we change every month, and we have some very selected, like the old fashioned from here is outstanding. So that's how it goes. There's 2 other tours. There's one that is the tasting, so that lasts more than an hour. You try the 2-star, the 3-star, the 4-star, and the 5-star. little amount of that. I'm explaining each one of them in the tasting notes and comparison and all that. And then you have also the cocktail. The other one is mixology. You make 3 cocktails. You learn how to use the tools. How to do mixology, you shake, measurements. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge in a time, but you will enjoy it. And then we got a terrace, we got a lobby, we got areas that you can enjoy the country and everything here in the property. Very nice to have. It's like going in a very private area to enjoy the country.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Susan in Atlanta. She says, do you use your rum in cooking or baking? And if so, what can you make? She was thinking of a rum cake, but do you have any other suggestions? She also asks, are there any female members involved with the making of Ron del Barrilito?
There is a female member involved. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, for cooking or baking, the family members that will kill me if I mention it. But really, the idea of this beautiful craftsman rum is to enjoy its simplicity and intense flavors. That is for the whole process. I heard that people here in Puerto Rico, they make some beautiful chefs, that they make some beautiful cuisine or details with the barrilito. Of course, you can use it. You always rum, of course, and also still like the complex of barrilito, you can use it. But really, personally, it is for a nice cocktail or martini or Manhattan or Presidente or just Bison. About the lady in the process, yes, there's one in the 4th generation. Is Monica Fernandez. She's the granddaughter of the founder Pedro Fernandez. Okay, so yes, they're actually very important in the profile. In the liquor business, in rum or in liquor business, census of aromas. Ladies have a more sensor than men, and that's one of the last ones before you try. So you can detect some of the esters components or some of the molasses in it, rum, all the details in it. So even in perfect selection of blenders, ladies are at the top scale. Okay.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Carmela in Sarasota. She says, can I get your thoughts on what to eat when drinking rum? I've heard that chocolate goes well, but I'm not so sure.
Should you eat when you drink rum?
Okay, can I get drink rum? Okay. Oh yes, chocolate. Oh yes. Some of the tastings that I have before that I use in rums, I would say chocolate is one of them very good. Even the chocolates here in Puerto Rico, they grow in cacao here in Puerto Rico. So I tried some of them with the finest of this, depending on the bitterness or the details in it, they go very connected. Even the old fashioned from here, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about our classic old fashioned. We use bitters, but we don't use regular bitters. We use chocolate bitter and orange bitter. So chocolate goes very nice with barrilito.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Diane in the United States. She says, when we make pina coladas, we use an electric blender. Is that the original way?
Well, the original recipe by Muchito here in Puerto Rico, they were taking the inside of the pineapple, so that's the way to prepare very fresh the pineapple. Also, they use the touch of the coconut or any syrup or cream coconut, and then a rum. Okay, so about the blender, if you do it with the blender, in small microscopically sizes, you have a lot of ice. So when you have it, it frees your brain. If we make it here in the plantation here in Ron del Barrilito, we, in our craftsman or in the mixology, we do a shake. So that way we get it cold, but actually we have the liquid. So when you drink it, you get in the barrilito, you actually get in the coconut flavor, so you can balance and you don't get brain freeze. If you have a lot of cold, it brains freeze your palate, and then you don't enjoy really personally that piña colada.
Thank you, Juan. And the last question we have time for tonight, it comes from Susan in the United States, and she asks, can we buy the rum here?
In the United States.
Okay, there are some areas in the U.S. that you can find it, but it's that they get it, those store or distributors, they get it by special orders from us. Very rare to find. And the price, of course, because of that special order and all that, because we're not a big industrial company, kind of like high expensive. Personally, I would say like, check mark, I would say get a nice excuse to come to Puerto Rico. Buy it here or buy it in our airport, and you're taking something, a part of Puerto Rico, really.
Thank you, Juan. That's the end of our questions for today.
Thank you for your time. Lovely time, and anytime we have the gates open for you guys, okay?